Good evening, everybody, and happy Friday. We are back today in our glorious TBM-930. I've missed this little lady, and I decided, you know what, this is a simulator. There's no reason to miss our ladies of the sky. If we miss them, then we probably should show them some attention. So today we are here in Cincinnati Municipal Airport in Ohio, and we're going to be flying over to Pittsburgh in the TBM-930. Short little hop. However, I do have a bunch of information that I'm going to be giving you guys about the channel up at Cruise. So be sure to check the timestamps down below if you guys aren't interested in seeing the rest of the flight. And at the very least, check out the Cruise because it'll have a lot of information, guide updates that are coming, and then other features that are coming to the channel, as well as a really cool build that I'm going to be showing you guys here over the next day or so, which is part of why we've been sort of radio silent in the last week. It's been very interesting. So without further jabber on, we'll talk about that when we get to Cruise. Let's go ahead and get this beautiful lady airborne. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkill's tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future updates and future guides that will be coming down the road. Link to Patreon can be found in the description below. Alrighty then, guys, let's go ahead and first get our weights and balances all set up. We do have a flight plan already created in SimBrief, so I'm just going to be loading it up according to what it requires. We're looking at 1,086 in the poundage for fuel today. So we're just about there, really. Let's go 96. 10 pounds over, we'll take that. And then payload. We're just going to look at our total payload today. We're expecting 1,150 pounds. Wow, that's a heavy aircraft today. Well, heavy in comparison to what I normally do, I guess. There we go, 1152. I'll take that. Yeah, that was nice and easy. This was meant to be, right, guys? All right, center of gravity looks good. We'll go ahead and leave it as is. We'll tell our passengers to shift around as we need to, but shouldn't really have any problems there. So, aircraft's loaded. We got our payload on board, passenger on board. Let's get her started. No, I promise. There was nobody else. You're the only one for me. I swear it. No, look, can we just get through this video here together, okay? And then we can talk about this afterwards, okay? All right. Thank you. Oh, hey, we are back in recording. Sorry, guys. Just having a little conversation here. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get this aircraft started. First, we need to go through our pre-startup check here. We're going to come up top here. I've already prepped a few things for us. We want to make sure batteries are off, generators are off, main and standby both are also disabled here. And we also want to come up top and make sure the starter is in the off position. Ignition goes to off. Auxiliary boost pumps go to off. And the fuel selection is set to manual, as well as autopilot and trim systems are disabled as well. Emergency locator transmitter is in the arm position, and oxygen is off. Stepping downstairs to the lower flight deck here, we have our air conditioning system is set to off during engine start. De-icing system and inertial separators are off. Parking brake, it is on. And okay, so let me just break it down to you. Our TBM-930 with either one of the mods that I have installed, and I'll have to dig through to figure out which one is doing it this time. It used to be the Cessna 208. There's a bug where if we leave the parking brake on, as soon as we start this engine up, or actually just start the electrical power, the master caution is going to chime at us and won't stop, no matter what you push, no matter what it is. And if you run into that, it's the parking brake. Okay, and it means that we have a conflicting mod, and I just don't know which one it is. So we're going to pretend, simulation, yay, that the parking brake is disabled. Okay, that's why I'm holding my feet down on the brakes. All right, so moving on. Parking brake is set. Yep. Landing gear lever is down. Hot airflow should be down at the floorboard for engine start. Pressurization system is in the off position. Fuel cutoff for the throttle. Left tank or most full tank is selected. Alternate static air source is pushed in and closed. And all circuit breakers are pushed in and closed as well. This TBM-930, ladies and gentlemen, is ready for engine start. So let's move upstairs. Okay, so coming back upstairs here, first thing we want to do is bring our battery on, generator on, Ignition's going to go to on. Auxiliary boost pumps go to on. Fuel selection remains in manual. Autopilot trim system remains off. And ELT remains in the armed position. Oxygen also remains off for the time being. Next, we're going to grab our G3000 here and make sure that the MFD is turned on. We can clear that master caution. Interesting. No, we can't. We should have been able to clear that master caution.
Okay.
Well, let's come up top and let's give her an engine start. She should knock it off here in a minute. I'm telling you, she's mad at me. We had a little tiffy, okay? You guys heard the end of it. We're in a little tiffy. So we're going to go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi on our starter. Looking for 13% on the NG. There it goes. All right, and move our throttle into the low idle position. Then we're going to be monitoring for 53% on that NG. Yeah, that's right, girl. You come back to life for me. All right, now we're going to go into high idle and over the gate into flight idle. All right, with the aircraft started, we are going to come back upstairs for a minute here. Ignition goes into the auto position. Auxiliary boost pumps to the auto position. Fuel selection goes to the auto position. Autopilot trim systems go to the on position. And oxygen, yes, at engine start according to the TBM-930 operational handbook in the real world aircraft, goes to on at engine startup. Stepping downstairs for a second. There's a lot of people who don't believe me about that, but you know, it is what it is. So, air conditioning system can go to as desired. Inertial separator will leave off until we're ready for taxi, but it will come back on. Stepping down, the pressurization system can go to max diff or auto. Max diff is going to pressurize the aircraft as quickly as possible, but might be a little uncomfortable for you and the passengers, so as often as possible, leave it in the auto position. Landing gear, we're going to do a quick lights test, verify everything's working, and do a check down. Flashing green indicates the gear is down and locked. Hot airflow, again, as desired position. And let's see here. I think we are good to go. That was actually a pretty good startup, especially for such a moody aircraft. Okay, so while we are here, we're going to simulate. We have gotten our ATC clearance. We're going to put a altimeter pressure there at 3001 today. Let's go ahead and set our transponder as well. We're going to come on down to the TSC for that. Go to Navcom, find our transponder. And let's see here. What are we doing? Let's say 1572. There we go. Sure. And right now we're just going to turn that to on. Okay. When we get to the runway, we'll switch it over to altitude reporting, assuming yours truly actually remembers to do it. I'm really worried that when I get my PPL, I'm actually going to get yelled at for that. But we'll see what happens, right? Hopefully things will go better than what I'm anticipating. All right. Transponder ident, we don't need to worry about that unless requested, and all that does is puts a big pulse on the ATC's radar so they can see, oh, this is the guy that we're talking to. All right. Let's see what we're missing here. Pitot heat and stall heater. Again, we'll bring those on when it comes time for taxi. Flight directors, we'll go ahead and turn on now. And our little lady is just about ready for us. We are going to change the active CDI signal over to the FMS. We are getting ready to program that next. And other than that, I think we're good. Fuel set. Weights and balances are set. Engines are running. Everything's normal. Temperatures are good. Performance is good. Let's do this. All right, and our final step before we move on downstairs here is we're going to flip that nav light on. Let's give us some lights here. And let's move on down to the MFD and TSC. All right. So, going to the MFD, let's begin our flight plan entry. So, let me move over here. All right. Flight plan, add origin, Kilo Lima, Uniform Kilo for Cincinnati Municipal Airport. All right, and now let's set up that destination. And we are heading for Kilo Papa India Tango for Pittsburgh. Yay! Let's go over to procedures. Now, we do not have any SID today. We're not going to have to worry about that, which is pretty awesome. And the only thing we have is a star. So, we're going to go to the arrival. And we are coming in on this little lady right here. And let's check our transition point, because honestly, I don't know. Runway, we're actually coming on runway 10 right, though, is what our flight plan tells us we're going to. Let's bring Navigraph on over here for a minute. And Kilo Papa India Tango. Finding the book there. Taking a look at the star. Is that Fuga? Fuga? Figa? Figa? Yeah, I don't care. I have no idea. Okay. Anyways. Alright, so let's see which direction we're coming from. We're actually coming from the southwest here. So it's going to be down in here. Looks like HNN is going to be our transition. It's going to one that makes most sense, it looks like. Is that an option? It is indeed. How about that? Boom! Grabbing it. Okay, so we have our transition set up. The final thing that we need to load into our procedures here. Oh, let's just hit load. Ooh, that was interesting. Well, that's odd. Well, but it still makes the most sense. Interesting. It just sort of has a... You know what? Actually, I don't think that does make sense. Let's change that. So... This one actually might be what we wanted. That is... Well... It's more direct. Definitely. That doesn't even make sense. Like, this... Okay, so Navigraph or something is wrong. Because, again, here's our airport here. Right? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, runway 10 left. So what's throwing me off here? Ah, wait a minute. Hang on. No, that's just a VOR. Expect 10,000. So when you're looking at this, here's what's throwing me off. Okay, sorry. I know I'm sort of talking to myself here, and it's probably just the TBM being mad at me still. So we got Henderson down here, right? But yet on the MFD, it was way up here. Okay, and this should be reading as north up, is how these charts are supposed to go if memory serves. Yet we type in, what is that? Newcomerstown, and it's way down here. It's like, that doesn't really make sense to me. But we'll leave it as is. It's fine. Not the end of the world. Let's just move on. I'm not going to drag that out too much. Okay, so we're going to stick with Newcomerstown because I kind of like that. It's really not too bad. So we'll come north a little bit and then drop down south and off we go. And honestly, if we really wanted to, we could et the living crap out of that and make it even easier. But we're not going to do that. Okay, so final step here is moving on to the approach. And let's see here. We're coming in on 10 right today. Let's do an RNAV approach. Let's drive her in ourselves, guys. More or less. I did say 10 right, right? Yes. Okay. And let's check the approach plate on that. I imagine that's probably the only one that we have to worry about. There's the airport. 10 right. We have Cuda and Whiskey. I don't really like either one of those. What's AGC? I don't see where that one is. This is where some of these sometimes these get really confusing to me. Not gonna lie. Unless that's this one. Yeah, it's got to be that one. So we got 3 here. Okay, so I'm thinking we're going to go with Whiskey. It looks like that's going to make more sense. Alright, and load it. Yep. Whiskey's way up there. Oh my gosh, I am like not even paying attention here. Wow, I just realized what I'm doing. So the aircraft's facing this way, which is facing north. Pittsburgh is over here. I'm reading this as if this was our destination. I am like... I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay? So let's just pretend that that didn't happen. Okay? And let's just move on. Okay. So, guys, it really helps when you look at the map and read it correctly. Okay? But all of that actually works out pretty nice. I am going to double check that approach transition again now because now it's making way more sense. Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah. That makes way more sense. I mean, really, well, actually, I don't know if it does. 100 nautical miles, and I think it was actually about the same. Actually, I think this one's more direct. I think it makes more sense. We're going to go that route. Okay, so let's move on. Mercy, come on now. Come on now. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we are going to talk about our speed bugs. So let's go to the speed bugs. Now, the nice thing about this particular aircraft is it's pretty standard right about across the map. You don't really have to worry about the weights and balances as much with this aircraft. They might adjust here and there 2 or 3 knots, but nothing crazy. So for the most part, you can leave these as is. Rotation at 90 knots, best angle at 100 knots, best speed or best rate at 124. And then we have our approach speed of 85 knots, which is accurate. So we don't have to worry about anything else there. Other than that, I think we are good to go. I can't think of anything else we're missing. We have our flight plan entered. We have our weights and balances set. We have our barometric pressure set. We have the FMC set for our flight plan here. We have our transponder code entered and set to on. I think we're ready, guys. Right. All right. Let's do this. All right, so before taxi checks, or last minute steps, I should say, really all we're going to do is we're going to set our initial target altitude, and we're going to set that for 12,000 feet. We don't have any restrictions coming out of here. We are flying direct to the first waypoint, which actually would probably be really handy to enter. Goodness gracious, I'm on a roll. I missed 2 of them. So we are not done with our flight plan. Mercy, mercy, mercy. I'm sorry, I'm being silly today. I'm having a good day. Kind of fun. Got a lot of cool things I want to share with you guys. So we're going to do Gipley as our first en route waypoint. We're going to add 1 more, and that's going to be direct to Juliet Papa Uniform. And throw that in there, and let's double check our route. Well, that doesn't make sense anymore, does it? Helps when you complete the flight plan before you pay attention, things like that. And the funny thing is I looked at that earlier and clearly didn't pay attention to it. Alright, so we're going to change this back to HNN. And even that doesn't make any sense, man. It almost... I wish there was a way... Like, none of these are looking great. Check that last one. Oh, JPU. Wow. Let's use the waypoint that's already in there as the transition, shall we, guys? I think that's a good idea. Hey, me too. I promise the whole flight won't be like this. Anyway, eventually I'll settle down. I'm excited. I've had a good day, like I said. Okay, so we're going to set our altitude up to 12,000 feet as we previously discussed. No other restrictions or concerns to be worried about there. So let's get that ready to roll here. We're going to set our initial takeoff speed. We're going to be looking for 124 knots as our climb out speed. So we're going to throw that up there in the box. And we will align our heading bug with the runway as soon as we get to it. So, final steps here as we're coming up top. Turning on those taxi lights. Oh, Jesus. Turning on the taxi light. Turning on the inertial separator. Pitot heat and stall heat can come on now. That's fine. And we are ready for taxi. Let's do this. Alright, now you can do a pushback if you want. If that's your thing, you can totally have the tug push you around, but really I don't think it's a big issue. The nice thing about this aircraft is she turns pretty tight. See what I mean? See what I mean, Vern? Now she'll also get rolling on you real quick. You want to make sure you always leave the flaps up on this aircraft until you are ready to take off. They hang so low to the ground, it's very likely you'll kick debris up into the control surfaces. Master caution, just letting us know the inertial separator is on. Obviously, we want that on. For those of you who are unaware, the inertial separator's purpose is to keep foreign object debris out of the engine intake and damaging the engine. It creates a separation duct, if you will, when you turn it on. It opens a flap, or closes a flap, I should say. Does restrict some of the, obviously, the air intake capability. Limits your ability to bring in air into the engine, which obviously reduces performance of the engine itself. However, It obviously keeps things like rocks, birds, ice, etc. out of the engine. Typically what we'll do on a nice clear day like this, shortly after takeoff, anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 feet, once you're sure that you're clear of the danger zone, you can then shut the inertial separator off and get your performance back, and we'll see what that looks like here in a little bit. Let's just get on taxi down to that there runway. I hope everyone had a good week. It's been an exciting week for us here. Had a couple weird events happen. Pops was in the hospital earlier in the week. Gave us a little bit of a scare. Turned out to be nothing crazy. He's fine. He's back home. And he's doing very, very well. So I had a little bit of an event there. But other than that, had a bunch of exciting things happen for the channel. Some things that are going to be slowing us down as far as content. Some things that are going to be speeding other contents up. Some really cool hardware that we're going to be putting together here over the next 24 hours. I think you guys are really going to like. I can't wait to show this thing off. And again, we're going to talk about that more at cruise. I'm just like, I'm antsy. I'm ready to start talking. Tell you guys about everything that's going on. But I have to behave myself. I have to wait. No, please, no pressure. I told you I was going to wait. So we have to wait. Plus, and then this little lady being mad at me. I don't know what that's all about. It's probably why I keep messing everything up. You ever have it, where your lady is mad at you? Where your significant other is mad at you, and you just can't really think straight, and that's going on. That's really what's happening, guys. That whole flight plan fiasco. Me blatantly just missing waypoints, skipping out on things, doing things out of procedural order. I'm a little stuff, right? But it's just what happens, she and I were obviously in an argument. My TBM was mad at me, and you guys know what that stress is like. We can't function when we know someone's mad at us like that, especially someone that we care about. Like, it just doesn't work right. It's tough. It's tough days. All right. So, here we are. Holding threshold. Let's get it ready for takeoff. Okie dokie. So at this point, we will reduce our flaps down to takeoff flaps. We're going to take our landing light and bring that on. Strobe lights coming on. Pulse light can come on after we are airborne. Let's line her up. All right, now that we are lined up, tap that heading bug, go down to our transponder. Oop, I didn't mean to hit the ident button, I meant to hit the transponder itself. Altitude reporting. We are good to go there. I remembered. I'm going to double check my barometric pressure. Ooh, look at that, it did change. How about that? We're going to arm the nav mode on our autopilot system. And other than that, we are ready to roll. So, let's do it. Alright, and torque to 95% of maximum. Anything over than that, and you'll find yourself getting over torque warnings pretty quickly. I don't know if that's a simulation error or not, but just the way it works. I find it to be the best performance to do it like this. For that rotation speed of 90 knots. There it is, rotating. Smooth climb out. Let's follow those flight directors up. Nice and easy. Positive rate. Gears coming up. About 20 knots above our rotation speed. We can go ahead and bring those flaps up. Here they are coming forward. flying a Lamborghini into the sky, guys. I'm telling you. Definitely can't turn on that autopilot yet, because she'll just get mad at me. I mean, she's already upset that I haven't been showing her enough attention lately. Been playing with those big airplanes. That's what she says. Keeps saying, you've been playing with those big airplanes. I mean, she's right. And then those rotor heads, you know, those top rotors. You know what? My propeller isn't good enough for you. That's all she says to me. Little does she know. Look at that. We're almost right at 124 knots. It's like she knows what I wanted. She'll treat you right. You just gotta remember, and I promise I won't do this to you again. I keep telling her that, but she's not listening to me. A little bit of a bumpy ride out, though, not gonna lie. Wow. Darling, why are you doing this? Come on now. Let's try to trim that nose up a little bit. That's right. Come on. Mercy. Bumpy day, bumpy day. Alright, passing through 3,000 feet here, or almost 4,000 feet now. Let's go ahead and we'll let the TBM take care of it from here. Autopilot on, yaw dampers on. Nav mode selected, flight level change still active. We are on our way up. Beautiful. Alright. So, we can go ahead and increase that target altitude. What is our flight level today? You know, I didn't even look. I just sort of go with it. Flight level today is 29,000 feet. Man, I don't even know if we're flying far enough to go that high, but what the hell. 29,000 it is. Yeah, I think we're going to do 23,000. Like, seriously, 29,000. Like, well, no. All right. Well, we'll listen. We'll behave. We'll behave. We don't have any restrictions, nothing like that going on, so it's a clear ride all the way up to our cruise altitude. Look at that. Gosh, that's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. No complaints about anything going on up there, huh? Alright, and we are more than certainly high enough. Let's go ahead and turn that inertial separator off. At this point, pay attention to the torque. It's going to start climbing. We want to be right around 95%, so I'm going to pull that back again. Throttle's coming back just a hair. Like I said, as that torque power comes back, you'll have to adjust the throttle a couple times typically. Look at that range opening up. I love it. That's good. Not looking for perfection, just enjoyment. Ah, look at that. Mercy. Alright, might get a little loud here. Oh, there she is. There's our girl. Oh, I can't wait to be a pilot. Can't wait to be a damn pilot. Absolutely wonderful. Alright, so as we are climbing towards 10,000 feet, we'll get ready here to turn our lights off in just a minute. There's a fuel tank automatically switching over. Good stuff. We missed anything. I think we actually had a pretty good flight. We had a little flight plan fiasco, you know, nerves, distracted. Wasn't sure how nice to me she was going to be today. All right, we've just passed through 10,000 feet, so lights off. And we can turn the pulse lights on if you want. And from here, we got nothing going on until we get to 18,000 feet, where we will adjust our altimeter to the standard transition altitude. All right, which will be 29902 on the altimeter, again at 18,000 feet, always in the United States. I'll see you guys when we get there, and I'll see you guys again when we get closer to cruise. Alright, so we just passed through 18,000 feet. Let's tap our barometer. You can see it switch over down to 29902. And that's it, guys, until we get up to our cruise altitude, 29,000 feet. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Okay, so I know this section says cruise, but it dawned on me that we may not have enough time, because like I said, I don't even think that we should be going that high. But so let's start talking about some of the things that are coming this way. First off, guide updates. We have a few updates coming for the guides this week. A320, there's a couple of startup procedures that are just not different, just out of sequence, that have been adjusted. Part of the checklist procedures has been adjusted as well. And then obviously the fly pad section is being adjusted, since basically it's been completely reworked since the last time that I did it. So we have those couple of updates coming there. As well as we have a big update coming for the 747, a little bit of reformatting, some typo corrections, formatting corrections, cleaning it up quite a bit. Now, I had planned on having the RNAV approach out in this one, but in the last 2 weeks, I can't get the RNAV approach to work. So if you guys can do it in the current version of the Salty 747, please let me know, and just tell me what your procedures are about the time that you start the approach. When you make your turn onto the approach, tell me what you're doing, because I can't get the Command B to activate when I go into the approach mode, and it should be doing that when it follows the GPS, but it's not. Anyway, so ILS works just fine. RNAV, I can't make it work in the 747 at this time. And I thought it was modeled at this point, so maybe I'm incorrect about that. Okay, so we have guide updates coming, definitely. Baron G58 guide is actually on hold for a minute, for those of you who have been looking forward to it. I'm terribly sorry about this. As I've done further and further testing and comparing it to a real-world pilot's operational handbook, that I found the performance numbers are way off. Takeoff speeds are incorrect. Approach speeds are incorrect. Rotation speeds are incorrect. I mean, for example, the rotation speed, according to the Real World's Pilot Operational Handbook, should, now obviously, weather, runway length, weight, etc., all these things come into play. But let's call it for an average, for simulation purposes, we should be looking for about 70 knots of rotation. Where in the sim, I can get her wheels up without even blinking at 50 knots. So it's just, and again, there aren't any modifications that I'm aware of for the Baron G58. I wish there were. I wish somebody would pick that up, somebody who's smarter than I am and knows how to do it. But we can't. Now, what I am thinking about doing is the G36, however. I was doing some comparison with it the other day, and it's pretty on point with the latest mod release. Real World's Pilot's Operational Handbook, and according to the sim, they're almost neck and neck. So pretty stoked about that. I'm thinking that we might shift over to the G36 for now, until I can decide what I want to do with the Baron G58. It doesn't make any sense to do a Baron G58 guide when the numbers are so far off. I mean, I guess if you guys, let me know in the comments below if you guys want me to continue with it or not. I just don't want you looking for speeds that are, quite frankly, for example, with the Baron G58 at 70 knots, you're fighting to keep it on the runway, because it wants to be airborne by that point in the simulator. Where the G36, again, very fun aircraft, just powerful, fast little you know what, I think would be a little bit more fun. As far as next commercial jets, we have had some talk about the 787. I'm not sure if I'm going that route yet. The 787, although the heavy division mod is really nice, it's good, I haven't seen any new developments with it. And I know there's a lot of limitations that still exist with it, which would make the guide kind of boring. Anyway, so something to think about there. I was thinking about maybe doing, one of my guides for the CJ4, although Working Title's done a very, very, very good tutorial guide for it. Mine tend to be more, very much so, beginner-based, where, for example, Working Titles is very much so far more detailed, far beyond the beginner guide, definitely. So that's an option. The Longitude is getting a couple of updates, nothing too crazy. It really hasn't changed much. There isn't a whole lot to add to it. Same thing with the Airbus A320 guide. It's really, like I said, I told you guys earlier, there's a couple changes coming to it, but more of it's just, a few updates, feature changes, things like that. But for the most part, it's pretty accurate right where it's at. There are features that are being enhanced in the simulator for it by Flybywire, but not necessarily anything that has changed with it, if you get my gist. Let's turn some de-icing on. I was just looking at the outside air temperature. Pretty cold. Anyway, so we have that coming, and but that's about it for the moment as far as the guides go. We also do have a new all of my mods and scenery. I am working on a new spreadsheet and list for that, as well as all my add-on tools that I use. I've sort of changed the formatting on that a little bit. A, to make it easier for me to edit it. B, to make it easier for you guys to read. So that will be out by the end of next week. You can find that on Patreon. As well as for American Truck Simulator. American Truck Simulator, we're going to be doing quite a bit more of that on the channel. I'm really digging it. It's definitely something that you wouldn't think that you'd get into until you get into it. And then it's like, all right, this is pretty awesome. And it's actually fairly challenging. It's a whole lot more than just driving a truck. They're difficult. They're not easy, man. So got that going on. As far as flight simulation, we have a really cool touchscreen controller that I'm going to be putting together tonight. And this is literally it's a home-built touchscreen controller that will control virtually everything in the cockpit. I'm going to walk you guys through when this is all done. I'm going to post a video obviously on the build, post a video on where I got everything, where to find it. There's a couple different places you have to go to. The gentleman who does the 3D print for the box itself, I think is out of Ontario, Canada. So a bit of a hike from us, definitely. But this is something that you could probably market on or put on the market for $400 or $500 if you wanted to, and you can do this yourself. No soldering required. Everything is click and download, plug and play kind of thing. Very easy to configure and install, and it will mount to your Alpha or Bravo throttle quadrants or yokes, which means it'll probably mount to your, if you still have the SATEC yokes, things like that. And it's very small. Uses a 4-inch touchscreen controller. Or a touchscreen, excuse me, and it will control literally anything in this aircraft. Literally, touchscreen to select the different menus that you want. You guys just have to wait for it. You know what? I don't want to get into it. Trust me. It's especially if you are someone who lacks space or doesn't have the money for $2,000 in peripherals. You're gonna want to watch this video, so make sure you guys keep an eye out for it because it's gonna be cool. This thing does so much. Catheta, if you're listening, man, you poisoned me. He's the one who brought it to my attention, and boy, is this going to be cool. So, quite a few things coming down the road. GTA 5, OCRP, Orange County Roleplay, also going to definitely be continuing with the channel. That is so much fun. If you ever just want to kick back and giggle and listen to stuff, guys, those are cool videos to watch. These communities have taken Grand Theft Auto 5 and turned it into sort of a sim life, if you will. They build up the communities. You have Leos, law enforcement officers, paramedics, fire engines, rangers, everything from air patrol, and then you have civilians, obviously. And that's what I was playing the other night. I was playing a civilian. And, you have to keep within reason. You do something dumb in GTA where in real life you'd wreck your car. You typically RP that you wrecked your car. So it's not like it doesn't get out of control. And, again, this is Orange County Roleplay. And they have an application process that you have to go through. But if you guys, just Google OCRP GTA 5 and you'll find their website. Really neat community. Jeff Faviano and his team run it. They all do they do just an amazing job. It's truly a pleasure to be a part of it. I really had a great time the other night. So be on the lookout for more of those videos. Check them out. DCS World. I know I've gone radio silent on DCS again. And the reason being is I am building out a brand new mission map where I'm going to keep going with the tutorials, but I'm not going to make them quite as dry as I was doing before. And I think that's why I stopped. Is I just got burnt out on the encyclopedia methodology of teaching. It gets hard to keep up with it. It really does. It can really, I mean, as the content creator, it can really bore you to tears after a while. And I love DCS. So I'm going to try a different approach. If you guys don't like it, by all means tell me and we'll go back to the old way. But doing the tutorials more of a mission based, they're not going to be long and drawn out, but, you know, a purpose to the flight. You know what I mean? Whether that be, you know, like air to air might be an interception, and then talking you through how we're configuring everything. Air to ground, you know, we might have an HVT or some sort of high value, you know, or, you know, high priority, you know, AO or something like that we have to, you know, do an incursion on, whatever. But we are getting back in DCS. Pre-ordered the Apache today. You're crazy if you haven't yet, if you're a rotor head. And actually, no, I'm not even a rotor head, and I bought the Apache the second that it went on pre-release. Saving 30% off right now. That's a pretty big deal. Goes from $50 to $80 if you wait till after launch. So keep that in mind. And typically, man, when they do these pre-sales, you're a matter of weeks away. So really excited about the Apache coming. That's going to be fun. The second truly what I would designate an attack helicopter in the simulator. You know, the Hind, I mean, it's really the Hind's counterpart as far as I'm aware. I think it's quite a bit more advanced than the Hind is. Actually, I'm pretty positive on that. But anyway, that's coming. So there's definitely a lot of content coming down the road. Live streams, we're going to be doing a little bit of reorganization, a little bit of rescheduling, figuring out a way where I can sort of balance things out in a way where I don't feel like I'm pulling my hair out every night. I want to do all of this. That's the whole thing, guys. All of these things I want to do. It's not like I'm feeling pressured by it. I want to. I'm excited about all of it. Now I just got to line it all up in a way where I can manage it all without letting one fall, you know, one suffer and the other while the other one pushes forward, right? We are settled in finally now. The move is basically done. Let's call it what it is. We're basically unpacked. You know, a few little things here still left. A few things in my office I want to adjust, but for the most part, we're ready to roll. So, anyway, guys, continue to stay tuned, and I appreciate all the support and the love that I get from you guys, and we're going to keep flying and keep things coming down the channel. So, stay tuned for that. So now let's go ahead and move on back to our flight here and get ready for our next step. Alright, so while we're enjoying our little cruise here, let's take a look at some VNAV options. Now, VNAV itself is not implemented yet. However, what we can do in the TBM, thanks to those amazing folks over at Working Title, is we can calculate our top of descent right from the MFD. So, let's take a look at Navigraph. Give me just a second here while I find our star. Oh, helps if I'm clicked on the right runway or airport. Bing! That makes a difference. Okay. So let's bring this over here. So what we're looking at here is we're looking for any altitude restrictions. We don't really have any. The only one that we have is here at Whiskey, where we're expecting at 10,000 feet, which is one of my favorite altitudes to use, just because everything below 10,000 feet is pretty easy to manage as long as you're on point. So let's move on down to our MFD. We're going to come down here. We are going to go to our flight plan. We're going to find the Whiskey waypoint. There it is. And we're going to add 10,000 feet. And we're going to press Enter. After we press Enter here, you can see that other altitudes have now been calculated. And I think we already passed our top of descent. I told you we were too high. So now we're going to go to VNAV. We're going to go to VNAV enabled. And let's see here. Oh, top of descent in 11 minutes. All right, cool. So we're still good. And you can also see right here, there's our TOD. So it makes it really handy. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at a vertical speed target of about 1,700 feet per minute. Now that's going to change as we get closer here. Looking for a 3-degree glide slope, obviously very common for our descent. And that should take us down to our active VNAV waypoint, which is the first targeted waypoint that we have manually set as our desired altitude. So we want 10,000 feet by Whiskey, and that's why we have our active VNAV waypoint. So from here, it's actually quite simple. What's going to happen is approximately 1 minute before the top of descent, we'll get an alert right here that says 1 minute from top of descent. And we will begin setting up our vertical speed. We'll begin setting up our descent rate. And as soon as our time expires, we will begin descending at the appropriate angle, which I will show you more as we reach it. But it's actually a really simple process. You don't have to worry about any third-party websites or things like that. Everything's done right here for us in the cockpit, which always makes things nice and easy. So let's just return to our primary flight display here, and I will see you guys as we get closer to the top of descent. Alright, I figured I'd catch you guys a little early this time. You can see we're 2 minutes and 14 seconds from our top of descent. I just want to make sure you guys see where it actually populates here, because it only shows up for a few seconds. It's not like it's something that stays on the screen. So what I am going to do while we're waiting, though, is we're going to set our initial altitude, or our target altitude, because again, we don't have any restrictions on the way down. We're not using ATC, so we're just following our charts. So we're going to go all the way down to 10,000 feet. 10,000 feet. Anyway, I don't know where that came from. I'm telling you, man, it's been a good day. It's been a very nice day. So boom, there's our target altitude locked in. We got 1 minute 30 seconds till TOD. Speed time up a little bit. Boom! There's your alert right there. Now, we have a couple new indications. This is going to be our target vertical descent rate. Okay? Now, I don't think we can trigger this yet. Nope, we cannot. So, when it comes time, we're going to enable vertical speed. We're then going to rotate our wheel forward until our vertical speed indicator, which we'll see in a second here, will match the required descent rate that is down here. Now, this carrot here, notice that it's coming down towards our current altitude. We got a couple things to match up. We always want this carrot to be as close to our current altitude as possible. Reason being is because that means that we're at the correct altitude at the correct position. So this side determines, are you above or below your glide slope? Is all this is. It's a glide slope indicator. So watch, for example, let's bring up vertical speed because we're just about there. There's our descent or our vertical speed indicator, and let's start rolling it down. And we're also going to pull some power off for the descent, about 50% of normal. Okay, so you can see that we're descending a little faster than what it's requiring, but it's because we're bringing our glide slope indicator back up. Once the glide slope indicator comes back up, I'm going to change our descent rate. And it's not perfect, right? I mean, there's going to be variations and things like that. So it may require a little of adjusting here and there, and as time goes on, you're going to have to continue to adjust. But for the most part, it's pretty accurate. It really is. It does really well. Let's come on down here at about 40 nautical miles. There we go. Really easy peasy way to begin. All right, and so you can see it jumped. So now we're above it. So we're going to increase our descent rate to get to where we want it, where it wants us to be. And there we are again. I'll let it fall a little bit below and then level it out. I'd rather be below the glide slope than above it. Below the glide slope, you have options. You can just level, reduce your descent rate. Above the glide slope gets a little bit trickier, especially the lower you get, because it requires you to descend significantly faster, obviously. Like you can see, we're falling below it quite a bit here. And again, you don't have to manage it as anal-retentively as I'm doing. Just more or less want to be close. Alright, so at 18,000 feet, we're going to reset, well, about 17.5 is when we'll reset our barometric pressure to make sure we're matching what current altitude is. And then I will see you guys, well, I'll see you at 18,000 when we change our altitude, and then I'll see you guys as we begin the approach. But I'm going to come all the way down to 10,000 feet by Whiskey. And I'm going to continue to adjust this as necessary to make sure that we reach our altitude at the correct point. Because at Whiskey, according to our chart, we are required to be at the 10,000 foot mark. So I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, so we are beneath 18,000 feet. I'm just going to tap that B key. 3004 is our altimeter. We're still, where are we here? Bottom of descent, looking at about 5 minutes to 18,000 or to 10,000 feet. So I'll see you guys in just a few. One other thing I did want to point out to you guys was, if you notice, when we changed our barometric pressure, it put the glide slope way above us. So I did have to descend rather quickly, or put us way above the glide slope. So I did have to descend, increase our rate of descent in order to match it back up. So I just wanted you guys to be witness to that. Alright, another thing I want you guys to be aware of, we're starting to come into some heavy clouds here. Outside air temperature is definitely very cold. We're going to bring the inertial separator back on for the remainder of the descent. Okay, real quick, I don't know if you guys saw it fast. I don't know if I got the recording going fast enough, but that TOD popped up again. And that's actually bottom of descent is what I should say. It it'll say TOD within 1 minute again, and what it's referring to this time is the bottom of descent is within 1 minute. So letting us know that we're just about clear. Now we are coming, like I said, into heavy clouds, so I'm going to turn our landing lights back on a little early. And we're going to shut that pulse light off as it'll light this cloud up like a Christmas tree. Alright, so we're getting close, and as you can see, there should be no reason why we don't reach 10,000 feet by our required altitude. We're at 12,005, and we still got quite a bit to go. So here we got 8 miles to go. So yeah, we'll have no problem reaching that descent. So I'll see you guys in just a couple minutes where we'll talk about the approach. Alright. So we are approaching 10,000 feet, and we're still 2 miles away. We got plenty of time here. Shouldn't be any issue, but I'm going to descend just a little bit faster. I want to make sure we reach it by the time we hit Whiskey. Now, Mufti here, we're going to get us all the way down to 5,000 feet, so we need to get our butts moving here. So we're going to go 5,000. I'm going to show you guys why in just a minute. Just let me get this going first before we get behind. I don't want us getting behind here. And let's see here, we got 23 nautical miles, 5,000 feet. Okay, we should be good right about the 1,000 feet descent rate. Okay. So let's talk about why I picked 5,000 feet. If we take a look at the RNAV 10 right approach plate, okay, here's Whiskey that we saw before, and here's Mufti, okay, I like that word. And you can see IF, this means initial fix for the approach. And if we look here, we can see our altitude requirements by Stark, 3,000 feet, Mufti at 5,000 feet. Final approach course is 101 degrees, and here from Stark is our 3-degree glide slope down to 10 right, with a touchdown zone elevation of 1135 feet. So, let us begin some magic here. We're going to come on down to our PFD. We're going to go into minimums, and we want minimums on Barrow. And what did I say the minimums for this? Let's see, for an RNAV approach, bad weather like this, we're going to be looking at, actually we want altimeter of 200 feet. So by 200 feet above ground level, if we do not have visual contact with the runway, we need to abort and go around. So there's our minimums there, and you can see radar minimums 200 feet populated there up on the primary flight display. Wow, that looks nasty. Look at that. Oof. Brutal. Oh, why are we out there? Also, once I'm below 10,000 feet, I like to hit the B key again and re-verify our current altimeter pressure. And I'll typically do that again at about 3,000 feet just to make sure we have that final approach heading correct. Alright, so from here on out, guys, it's pretty smooth sailing. Not a whole lot to worry about here. We're gonna be in good shape if all continues as it has been thus far. So far, the only hiccup we had was yours truly getting so distracted that he couldn't enter the flight plan incorrectly. Or, no, excuse me, I entered it incorrectly, perfectly fine. I couldn't enter it incorrectly, right? Incorrectly? Okay, yeah, put a space there, okay? Maybe a hyphen, incorrectly. No, that would make it one word, that'd be weird. Anyways, alright guys, I'll see you in a minute. I can see clearly now the rain. Whoa, oh, hi guys. So, we are in the crap of it, as you can tell. We are about to level out at 5,000 feet, approaching Mufti. Once we turn on to Mufti, we'll be setting for 3,000, descending at 1,000 feet per minute. That should put us where we need to be. This is going to get pretty sticky. Worst case scenario, for any reason we do have to follow the missed approach, our instructions are to follow the track 101 degrees, climb to 4,000 feet to KDEC, and then track on 143 degrees to JAPAV, and then track 1908 to AGC-VOR, and hold. We'll do something a little bit differently, obviously, since, again, we're not using air traffic control. But we do know our just fly a runway heading of 101 degrees, and we do know our escape altitude of 4,000 feet. So, if for any reason we can't do it, that's what our plan is currently. So we'll see what happens here. We're just about to settle in at 5,000. I'm going to go ahead and reduce the target altitude to 3,000. That way, when we initialize vertical speed, we're good to go once again. By this point, we should be able to pick up. I mean, Mufti is the initial. You can see we're inside 15 miles. So really, once we turn on to final, we can engage the approach mode. But this weather is nasty, man. This is brutal. If it doesn't clear up soon, we may have to switch over to an ILS approach, which is what we will do if for any reason we can't make contact with the runway. Now, we don't have an auto land, so typically you probably actually divert to another airfield, but you know, we'll work with what we got. Make it happen. Make the magic happen. Alright, there's our turn, vertical speed, and begin descending at 1,000 feet per minute. 160 knots, I'm going to go ahead and go flaps 1. We're inside 15 miles from the approach. Once we straighten out, I'm going to go for the approach mode. Actually, we should be good to go, honestly. We shouldn't be an issue with engaging that now, so let's go into approach. There's our runway right out there. Starting to pull some power back. 173 knots is the point we can go flaps 1 and bring the gear down. Looking to hold about 150 knots for the moment. Man, even I wasn't expecting this. Heading bug locked in at 101 degrees. Glide slope is now purple here, meaning that it has been acquired. You can see we're above it though. And that makes sense that we're above it because we haven't reached our target destination yet. And I'm going to go ahead and continue that descent. We're going to take her down now to about 1,500 feet. Let her keep on descending. Once the glide slope locks up, we should, the aircraft should take over the descent and vertical speed should be disengaged automatically. We're going to double check our barometer again. 3004 now. And there you go. Oh, no, it did not accept that. So let's disable vertical speed. I'm going to lock in our altitude. And you can see we're below it, so that's okay. So all you got to do when you're below the glide slope is just level out. And wait for it to come back down to you. It will. Alright, at this point we're going to go landing gear down. Oh, so if I hit the right button, there we go. I'm going to start pulling us back down to the approach speed. Alright, glide slope just locked in. That's why the aircraft took over. So, still tracking us a little bit below it, which is weird, but that's alright. It's close enough. 100 knots. We're going to go full flaps at this point. Get us on track for 85 knots. I know the speed bug said 80 knots. It's actually 85 knots for the approach. Oh, it actually looks like it's at 8.5 knots. Looks like it's correct. For some reason, I thought it said 8.0. I am watching this. Now, this could just be because of the nasty crosswind we're in, but... Oh yeah, we are in a nasty crosswind. 8 knots at 189 degrees, blowing right on the side of the aircraft. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is set our altitude up to 4,000 feet. In case we need to activate the autopilot and use it to get us out of here. We're at 1,200 feet radar altimeter. Remember, at 200, if we haven't made contact with the runway, we got to go on plan B. Running a little slow, adding a little power in. Just the crosswind talking. Man, this is brutal. Can't see anything. We're now at 800 feet. $600 feet. Yeah, I know.
500.
And fast. Alright, we're starting to get some clearing here. 400 feet. Alright, there we go. Visual contact with the runway. I'm going to disengage the autopilot. The yaw damper needs to be off for landings. Alright, we're visual the rest of the way here. We're a little low. There's our 200 feet minimums. We got lucky with that one, didn't we? Just like stopped. Now we're a little high. Letting her bleed that speed off. Easy, baby, easy. Mercy. All right. Let's go ahead and bring those flaps up. Clear the active there. We want to cross the hold short line. Then we can finish reconfiguring the aircraft for taxi. Okay. So at this point here, turn our strobe lights off. Landing lights off. Taxi light remains on. Pulse lights, make sure they're off. I can't remember if we did that already. It's sort of hard to see. Yeah, at this point, I'll just taxi on over and shut the aircraft down. I really hope you guys enjoyed this flight. That was definitely an unexpected landing, so I really, really enjoyed that. But I've definitely missed flying this aircraft. We're definitely going to be seeing a lot more of the TBM. She's just so much fun to fly. If you guys haven't tried this one yet, I highly recommend it. It is so much fun to fly this aircraft. All right, guys. Well, as always, be safe, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next one.